Hello, America. It's time to talk a little bit about what's happening next week, and that is Davos. Next week, all of the elites, all the super smart people who just super care about you, your family, your children, who know better than you on what you should eat, what you should do, where you should live, how many carbon units you should be allowed to have, all of those great things. They're meeting next week, and their topic, the theme of this is rebuilding trust. Because somehow or another, many people in the world no longer trust the elites, the ones who work so hard to get into Harvard and Oxford and Yip Yap, some other university in some other country that's really super good. I can't think of any, but they've worked hard and now you don't trust them. Now, some would say that's because they're lying to us. They're trying to shove things down our throat that none of us believe in, and our tolerance for that is really kind of coming to an end. But no, they believe the reason why you don't trust them is because, well, there are people out there that speak ill of them. Not me. I love the elites. But these people are filling your head with nonsense. And the world is going in such great directions right now. I mean, you don't have a worry in the world, do you? Right? You don't worry about your job. You don't worry about your kids in school, for sure. You don't worry about anything when you're going to the grocery store. You're just like, load me up, I'm hungry. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. War? Please. Well, there is this pesky little thing that just happened last night. Of course, it didn't happen last night. It's been happening for weeks, but the president doesn't need to talk to Congress about it. We did an airstrike. Let's go ahead. Now, this is supposed footage of our airstrike. Now, that could have just been a really bad electrical outlet that went bad in somebody's house there in Yemen. But I think that's what they're saying is an airstrike. Now, I know this technology, this would be cutting edge, but can you imagine if when we did do an airstrike, our government would show it to us, like if they had cameras on planes, or even better, if you had cameras on the bombs so you could see where they were going and we could sit, look at this, imagine sitting around, just watching CNN, which I completely trust, and watching, kind of the green screen footage of what we were doing. Boy, that technology sure would be swell, Beeve. Yeah, we have that technology, so I don't know why we have to rely on the people in Yemen to show us what is supposedly an airstrike. We supposedly had our embassy in Iran terrorized. We don't have any footage of that. Don't have any desperate calls or even a picture. Nobody's even provided like a courtroom sketch of that. We don't know. We don't know if that's true or not. Might be an act of war. Could be a hoax. We don't know. Boy. Imagine when we get the technology where somebody could be on the phone and they wouldn't have to have it wired to the wall in case it was cut off. They could just call. Imagine the day when we could see that person talking to us and go, look, here's what's happening. And they could show us, boy, that'll be the day. Meanwhile, the protesters were out in the streets because the Houthis, who doesn't have a soft spot in their chest somewhere for the Houthis and their cause? I know I do. And after we bombed them, because they've been, shooting at our troops and bombing our troops, for weeks now, and we've done nothing, they gathered to tell us to go to HE double toothpick. That's what I like to say when I know the kids are watching. Protesters, here they are chanting, go to hell, U.S. Now, what's amazing... Yeah. What's so amazing is Apparently, Yemen looks very much like Times Square, because this couldn't be happening in America. You know what I mean? Oh, no. No. Oh, no, it is actually Times Square. Isn't that weird? Okay, so we are backing into a war. I'm actually for, if I'm sorry, but, as much as I love mosquitoes, if they're attacking me all the time, I am going to swat one. Don't attack me. Now, that's bad because mosquitoes can't think. Houthis, on the other hand, can. And if they keep stinging us, we should slap them back. We're not your punching bag. However, maybe we should have that discussion as a nation. I don't know. Maybe that's a really bad idea. Let's talk about it in Congress. No, because war is very important for the agenda. Let's say at places like, I don't know, Swiss ski slope resorts, They love war at those resorts. So we got to have that. Now, I want to turn to election because, remember, the theme of Davos is rebuilding trust. I know what's happening in the Middle East and especially in Ukraine. I got nothing but trust for the elites with that. But let's talk about the election that's coming up, because there's a couple of things that are kind of nasty little gnats that keep getting in the way here. I found it ironic and maybe a first in my lifetime. People are now saying that Fetterman is turning conservative. No, he's not. No, he's not. However, he is speaking common sense. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that he would be even able to speak? But he's apparently getting better. So let's hear what he had to say right after the UN voted to condemn Israel, not Hamas, Israel, saying that they were, conducting genocide in Gaza, and South Africa voted against Israel. Here's what Fetterman said.
They shot their best shot on October 7th, and they would have taken more lives if they couldn't do that, but they couldn't do it. And now let's also talk about that. Now we're talking about genocide, and now South Africa is bringing that kind of a trial. Maybe South Africa ought to sit this one out when they're talking about criticizing.
I don't know who was in the room. It's hard to believe that there were Democrats in that room, but apparently that's who he was talking to, so good. Maybe we're not as divided on things as I thought we were. Now, the truth has finally been spoken about politics. Here is CNN and a legal analyst who probably is not going to be seen on CNN again anytime soon, talking about the truth of the Trump trial. Watch.
What they were doing, they got paid back. But it is a fact that Letitia James, as Paula Reed said, Letitia James campaigned for Attorney General in 2018 specifically on a promise of vote for me and I'll get Donald Trump. That's not something she said once. She said it dozens of times. She said it in writing. She fundraised off it. And she wasn't even specific. She didn't say, I'll get him for inflating his assets. At one point, she said he could be indicted for money laundering. At one point, she said, the day after she was elected, she said, and I quote, we're definitely going to sue his ass. He'll know my name. And when you make statements like that, how can you say there's no political angle to this? You can maybe say the facts are there, but it's also political. That's Letitia James's own doings.
How's CNN? You know somebody in the control room is like, cut his mic, cut his mic. It's clearly political. Finally, somebody was there to say it. Okay, so we have war. The other thing they're worried about is trust. They think that number one problem in Davos they're going to address next week is misinformation and disinformation. Number two is the trust in the global, election systems. Apparently people are losing trust. I don't know why. Imagine if we had, just dream with me here for a second, because we're ready to enter a technological wonder. Imagine a country like this one someday having the ability to cast millions of votes on one day, and knowing the results by the end of that day. Can you imagine when we get that, how that will just change things? We won't have to wait days, weeks, have people, oh, I found some more votes. We wouldn't have any of that. Oh, man, that'll be exciting. Technology might be right around the corner. We should wait for the elites to tell us about it. Okay, so you have the second problem being, the political distrust. And then you also have the disintegration of nation states. And it's not just America that is going through this. This is happening everywhere. Let's start with drugs. Nothing that does better for a country than a few hard drugs. If you could just get everybody on heroin or fentanyl or whatever those kids are doing nowadays, we could all be pooping in our streets. Oh, that'll be the day. However, there is somebody who was an actual drug dealer. Not a conspiracy. Not a conspiracy theory. No, there are drug dealers. And they sell fentanyl. Now, where's that fentanyl coming from? Do we make it, or who makes fentanyl? Oh, I know the cartels make fentanyl, very deadly fentanyl. The other fentanyl comes in through China, and that's weird, across the border. It's almost like, you know what? This would be a great tactic. If you wanted to cripple, let's just turn it around. Say we wanted to cripple China. We could try to get all of the Chinese addicted to opium. We could call it like a drug war or something like that. And that way we could beat them if they were all addicted. Of course, if we did that, they might do that to us, but I'm just talking fiction here. Who would say that's going on? Here is, and I'm a little disappointed that there isn't, I love him. I actually think he's a really nice guy. Love his music, but I'm disappointed when I heard from my producers that we were going to talk about a jelly roll. I thought, I am focused on donuts a little too much, but this is the jelly roll. Play a little bit of Jelly Roll's music, please.
I'm just a long-haired son of a sinner, searching for new.
Okay, I absolutely believe in redemption. I believe that, I think the worst of us can become the best of us because we've already been there in the dark and we're like, I don't want to go back there. And when you're saved and turned around, you don't want to go back, and you start to really dig how great life is. And I think Jelly Roll is part of that. He was in front of Congress testifying about how he was part of the problem with drugs. Watch.
And I also understand the paradox of my history as a drug dealer standing in front of this committee. But equally, I think that's what makes me perfect to talk about this. I was a part of the problem. I am here now standing as a man that wants to be a part of the solution. I brought my community down. I hurt people. I was the uneducated man in the kitchen playing chemist with drugs I knew absolutely nothing about, just like these drug dealers are doing right now when they're mixing every drug on the market with fentanyl, and they're killing the people we love. I'll be honest with y'all, my desire is to only get older and only do better and be better. I believed when I sold drugs genuinely that selling drugs was a victimless crime. I truly believe that, y'all. My father always told me what doesn't get you in the wash will get you in the rinse. Now I have a 15-year-old daughter whose mother is a drug addict. Every day I get to look in the eyes of a victim in my household of the effects of drugs. Every single day. And every single day I have to wonder if me and my wife, if today will be the day that I have to tell my daughter that her mother became a part of the national statistic.
First of all, who would have known with the tattoos that maybe there might be something? I'm just saying. He says, look at me, I'm a drug dealer. That on your face, that could make you the head of customer service at any Target or Walmart anywhere across the country. In fact, I'm seeing more and more of it, and I don't find it spooky or weird at all. In fact, I never even noticed. Did you? And like I said, I believe in redemption, and I do believe he's trying to, turn his life around, and he's putting out a lot of good. And I hear he's a really, really nice guy. I wish him well and his family. When you are addicted to something, you're in hell. You're in hell, and it's not easy to break. Okay, so let's see. We have war, we have mis and disinformation, and you know what makes mis and disinformation, a lot easier to spot is when you're all hepped up on drugs. That is a really, really good thing. We have the political nightmares that are going on. And just because, what the heck, let's starve a whole bunch of people. The elites have apparently lost the trust of those farmers in Germany. Here they are blocking the highways. Look at that. Look at that. Now, these are, of course, radicals, insurrectionists, people who are anti-government. They're on their tractors. And farmers are practically all Nazis, right? Either that or they don't have time to join any Nazi group because, I don't know, they're farming and growing our food. But these farmers are blocking Europe's busiest highway, the A2, along with others, because they think they should be allowed to use fertilizer. Fertilizer only responsible for about half of all the food in the world. So, but getting rid of that is very important for global warming. But don't worry, the elites in Davos have a whole new system of farming. Never been done before, never been done especially on a grand scale. In fact, when it has been tried in one country, they starved. And the whole country fell apart. But they just did it wrong, okay? They've got a plan, and it's from seed to fork. They're going to reinvent the whole food thing, and it's going to be miraculous, and we're just going to be stuffed. Well, we won't be stuffed probably. We'll probably have to eat bugs. But because of global warming, we have to give up meat unless you're part of the elite, because Zuckerberg in Hawaii has started a big ranch where he's feeding all of his cows macadamia nuts because it will make them taste better. You won't be able to afford it. I won't be able to afford it. But the elite will be able to have that juicy steak that tastes. Is that a hint of the islands there? Oh, Mark, that is fantastic. I've got to have you send a side of beef my way. Have a bug. So we have that. And then, of course, we have 10 million people coming in to the United States. Now, we're going to do a full show on how this has happened. It's going to come as a surprise to you, but it seems as though it might be a conspiracy. Might be. What is a conspiracy? Well, I'll tell you in just a second. First, let me tell you about My Patriot Supply. It's hard to know if an emergency is going to occur. I mean, what could go wrong, right? Whether it's something happening directly to you, something in your region, even something nationwide, or God forbid, something global, what could that be? Well, it's all up in the air. The only guarantee is that crap happens in life. Be prepared for the crap that probably is going to happen. Well beforehand, you need to be prepared. That's why My Patriot Supply is so incredibly important. They help you prepare for the worst ahead, hoping for the best, but just being prepared so it doesn't have to be the worst for you and your family. Get started today by going to mypatriotsupply.com. You'll save $200 on an essential 3-month emergency food kit. Over the years, My Patriot Supply has helped millions of American families prepare for emergencies. They have everything that you could possibly need, and their 3-month emergency food kit is sealed inside an ultra-durable package. It's like a bucket. Delicious meals last up to 25 years and provide over 2,000 calories a day. Eat right when things go wrong. It's mypatriotsupply.com. mypatriotsupply.com. Okay. All right. Now, this is going to sound like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. A conspiracy is a bunch of people colluding to pull something off, okay? That's what a conspiracy theory is. Hey, I see this. That looks organized, okay? But I don't have any proof. So there's a difference between a conspiracy theory and an actual conspiracy. Let me show you the difference. A conspiracy theory would be like, hey, wow, all this stuff with immigration looks kind of coordinated. Are there a bunch of people working to get people to our borders? Of course not. That's a crazy conspiracy theory. Until I show you map number one. This is map number one. We're going to do a full show on this and other things that will kind of tell you that maybe this isn't just, one bad policy. Here's an immigration map from Panama to Mexico. And then the next one is Mexico into the U.S. So I got it all mapped out for you. If you're in Panama, Doctors Without Borders, never really thought of that name. I always thought it was because we don't have any borders because we'll help anybody. But I think it is actually doctors who believe there should be no borders, at least in the United States. These are the maps. Here's the third one, consulates in Mexico. These are the maps that help people get from Panama to the United States. And we want to really, really super point out that the great work that Doctors Without Borders is doing, because Red Cross is doing it too. There's a few players, and we're going to get into all of that here in the next couple of weeks. On Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Davos and the real stats of our economy. We're starting to see the rumblings of, hey, this isn't working. Will we do anything? And will we stand up peacefully before they crack down on you? I don't know. It is going to be a photo finish. But I am glad that we're not alone. We're together. We have contact with each other. You have contact with like-minded people. I know communities all over the country that are preparing for the worst, hoping for the best, to be places of refuge, to be places of sanity. And I'm humbled by that, how the American spirit is rearing its head before a tragedy. But it's not just America. I have a friend, Neil Oliver. He was on the BBC. He is a historian. He was part of the, Royal Society of History and, Lippes on Horses or whatever. And he's had everything revoked because he stood against COVID and the jab. And he said, this doesn't make any sense. And then he started coming out against ESG and lost everything. He is on a renegade outlet that the BBC and everybody else in England is trying to shut down. They are taking shots every day. They are kind of like a British Blaze in a way. They're still carried on the cable, but I watch him because he speaks truth. He's Scottish, and this last weekend he was talking about conspiracy theorists. And he said, I'm actually proud to be a conspiracy theorist. Here's a bit of what he said.
How many of yesterday's so-called conspiracy theories must be revealed as the truth before that worn-out label is finally abandoned? It's still out there, of course, casually tossed at anyone questioning lies, old lies and new lies. For as long as it lasts, I'll be proud and relieved to wear the badge of conspiracy theorist like a battle scar. It's been a couple of years, at least for me now, but to be a conspiracy theorist is to have been right all along, despite the efforts of the paid-for liars. And it's also to be demonstrably well ahead of the gullible, still believing in smoke and mirrors. Conspiracy theorist was first used by the CIA to shut down those who doubted the official line about the murder of John F. Kennedy, that fishy old tale about a lone shooter and a magic bullet, and then that lone shooter being shot by another lone shooter before he could talk. That was in the 1960s, and from then, the label conspiracy theorist worked for decades as the means to make thinking people too scared to speak when they smelt a rat. Let 2024 be the year of clearing out the rubbish, the trash, the long overdue year when the past their sell-by date labels, conspiracy theorist among them, are cast into the dustbin of history. Conspiracy theorist is hardly the only label used for ridiculing and so discouraging the truth. Over the last couple of years, those paid-for liars were churning them out like there was no tomorrow, indeed frightening people into thinking there would be no tomorrow unless they did as they were told was the whole point of the exercise. Granny killer, COVIDiot, denier. After conspiracy theorist, my own personal favourite is unvaxxed, still actually applied as though it were an insult. I sit here before you loud and proud as an unvaxxed conspiracy theorist, although I'll be honest and say, like many others, I worried about the consequences of outing myself as someone who had refused the jibby jab. Remember when to admit being unjabbed was not just to risk ridicule, but exile from society, inability to earn a living. What was I afraid of? For some of the time, I think I was actually afraid of being right, because what I came to think about those products as the months passed and the coercion to submit to them intensified kept me awake at night. But I know now that I've yet to meet anyone that regrets not letting that succession of pricks anywhere near them. But my incredulity at the maintenance of conspiracy theorists as an insult goes much further than that. Right now, we're being treated to the Epstein client list, the list that was maintained and jealously guarded by the world's most famous dead paedophile. Most famous apart maybe from Jimmy Savile, honoured by royalty and the state both. Like many people, I don't for 1 minute accept that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. To me, no serious, honest person could accept as much at face value, swallowing the official line that outside his super secure cell his guards were asleep and the security cameras turned off just at the time when he managed to break his own neck by hanging from a knotted sheet while in a seated position, a feat not replicated before or since in any so-called soft hanging. And yet, surprise, surprise, to question the state narrative on that shaggy dog tale and the corruption it revealed was also to be a conspiracy theorist, maybe even a domestic terrorist, to use another label currently being oversold by those with so much to lose. Now that conspiracy theory, which is to say talk of murder to silence a blackmailer financed by people richer and more powerful than him, is openly discussed. Who knows what more might be revealed from that murky store? It's still borderline treasonous to question the legitimacy of the 2020 US election, and yet we have long known that the truth of the Hunter Biden laptop, the honest and open revelation and discussion of which, at the time, might have affected that election in a way not beneficial to his dad, Joe, was determinedly suppressed by the media and the tech giants acting in concert. If that's not interfering with an election in favour of one side over another, I don't know what is. This time around, with the latest US election looming, the Democrat White House is striking from ballots the name of their biggest and most popular rival, and even doing the same to what it considers renegade Democrat candidates. The US government may yet put Donald J. Trump in jail to try and thwart his return to the White House. Once the land of the free, now more and more commentators are describing the US as behaving increasingly like a banana republic. And yet, with a straight face, Hillary Clinton and the rest of US political royalty loudly declare they are acting to defend democracy itself. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, and I say what's quacking in and around the White House now is a flock of shameless crooks, as corrupt and dangerous to life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness as it gets. I've been called all the names. It's virtually a rite of passage on the road to accepting the obligation we have as members of the human race to voice doubt and ask questions about courses of action being adopted on our behalf by people we did, or in our case, didn't vote for. Here's the thing. Exactly how long is the lag between the bandying about of conspiracy theorist and the application of more accurate labelling instead, being perhaps person who knew and said so despite the certainty of abuse? How long is it to be in future? 2 years? 2 months? 2 days? Because it feels to me like the gap is closing faster and faster. So many state and corporate lies are exposed. Those of us paying attention already await the next lie. Cyber attack, war against Iran, whatever. We're stepping out into a new year. I'd like to hope it might be a year of change, for the better, away from state-sanctioned lies and towards truthful answers to questions from honest people. The US is not alone in contemplating an election this year. At least 40 countries around the world are doing likewise. We'll likely have one too. I said it was time to clear out the trash, and I mean it.